Mm.
All right. We're at 9:03. We still have people trickling in, but we'll go ahead and kick off for the sake of making sure we end on time, which I do anticipate. Welcome, everybody. In looking at the attendee list, I know many of you that are joining us, but there are some new names as well. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Maria Thacker Goethe, or Goethe, if you speak German, and I'm president and CEO of Georgia Bio. It's a pleasure to be here today, and we appreciate everybody joining us. I've asked some team members to join today to help and answer any questions that come up, and also just so you can get to know the team, as staff has shifted quite considerably in the last couple of months in particular. Ashley Haltom may be joining us too a little bit. She is traveling today, but she heads up government affairs, so if you see her pop in, she'll be here as well. A few housekeeping items, just as I'm going for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick some things off, give some remarks, as was indicated in the event posting, about what's going on, because I know there's a lot of questions happening and that have been circulating. And really, I'd like to be able to open this up to questions that you all have from our community and answer them to the best of our ability. So thanks to the Georgia Bio team for joining, and for everyone who's made themselves available this morning so we can answer any questions you have and provide some updates. So we'll do our best. Again, drop your questions in the question and answer section. And additionally, I think most people have my email, but I'm going to drop my email into the chat here so you all can send me direct questions after the fact. There you go. So I first want to address and kick things off with what's been going on. A few years ago, the Center for Global Health Innovation was formed in a 2020 merger as a place to be the leading center for global health and life sciences organizations together. This was part of a 2018 Global Health ATL initiative led by the Metro Atlanta Chamber and community partners across the board from our industry and others, really to bring together our innovative health community, from health tech and life sciences to global health, and of course our digital health partners. The intention was really around to collaborate, innovate, and activate solutions to enhance health outcomes around the world. This was a board decision on many different boards' parts, and went through a significant amount of legal assessment to get to that point. Georgia Bio folded into the center in 2020 during its inception. And I think this is an important point because the formal merger came together about a month before COVID shutdowns started. At this point in time, CGHI has a changing scope and effort. So the time has come for Georgia Bio and our BioEd Institute to separate from the center and adopt a more incremental and industry-focused approach to our efforts. We're really working to recommit to our core mission for advocating, connecting, educating, inspiring for our member enterprises and our stakeholders in much the same way you all have known Georgia Bio since its inception in 1989. I must stress that none of that ever ended, but we fully acknowledge, and I fully acknowledge, the messaging got confusing. So the separation is extremely important, but I must stress it is very much industry driven. We're now going to be looking at things through an industry-wide lens. We want to be a lot more inclusive of medtech, medical devices, and also start looking into seeing how we can strategically start to approach our food and ag friends, environmental innovators, and things in that particular space. We will be putting up a formal announcement in the next 24 hours, including some additional details about the why we're doing this. And we really have worked diligently with strong industry support to accomplish the following. We want to rebuild trust with our industry, strengthen brand awareness, simplify our message, and respond to industry demand for a stronger, unified voice on behalf of the industry, in particular for policy priorities. So I will, before I talk about first then our actual formation and what we look like now, I want to stress that again, that this is very much industry driven. As most people in our community know, COVID catapulted life sciences to an entirely different level in the last few years, additional in good and bad ways. And that has really shown itself in particularly in Georgia with significant life sciences activity from an economic development standpoint, which we did not see back in 2020 in the same way. So Georgia Bio has officially formed as a 501c6 organization. This will allow us to be politically active and allow for future creation, potentially of a political PAC, political action committee, which has been in discussions for some time now. I will also stress the precedent around this of the 47 bio and AdvaMed affiliates, all except 2 were 501c6 organizations. So Georgia Bio previously as a C3 was a bit of an outlier from a structural standpoint. And being a C6 will allow us to prioritize some of our policy activity a bit more. This does not mean we are not pursuing a 501c3 status in addition to the C6, but right now we have restructured under the C6 to allow us to strategically prioritize our singular unified voice on behalf of the industry, particularly around policy initiatives. As it relates to the industry, there's a great piece that Georgia Trend actually did highlighting a lot of the activity that myself and my colleagues in our workforce office and government affairs and others have been working with the state and a variety of economic developers around. This piece came out in July of July of 2023. And it pulls a lot of data from our report, but highlights some of the activity, not just in the metro area, but in Athens and a few other areas on the amount of activity that the state and our colleagues that we work with to recruit and retain companies have been working on. We have grown as an industry at an unprecedented rate over the last few years. We continue to outpace an already rapidly growing industry nationally. It is one of the fastest growing industries nationally and also the highest paid industry nationally, including the highest paid industry here in Georgia. We deliver over $50.2 billion in total economic impact to the state. We represent, I think it's just shy of 4% of the state's total GFP. So a lot of this credit does go to creativity, collaboration, and the vision of a lot of behind the scenes players that some of y'all who are on this call are partners of the state, various chambers, and a number of industry leaders. I'll name a few partners: continued growth at Boehringer Ingelheim Animal Health, UCB, J&J sites here, and a number of small companies moving into our market as well. Additionally, our technical system here is a strength that the state and our partners we also continue to leverage in terms of logistics and supply chain, but also a highly trained workforce and a diverse workforce. So with that, and accompanied with the business climate that's very generous tax credits, it continues to foster the growth of the sector. And really these last few years since our merger, it has catapulted in ways that I don't think many of us had originally anticipated. But that is good news for us as an industry. So by being independent, we'll be able to continue to prioritize the life sciences in a stronger way, we feel, and but also have the opportunity to continue to work with past partners that we did work with during the merger as well. So the separation is done. We are still going through some asset negotiation in full disclosure, but there are a number of things are moving forward with a lot of support from key industry players to make sure we continue and remain stable, which we are right now, and look to expand the support for the sector. So I just want to check the questions really quickly before I dive. Okay, nothing yet. Okay, I'll get to what's going to be happening with CGHI in a minute. I'd like to hit on my handful of slides and then dive into any Q&A. So please bear with me as I get the slide sharing up. I apologize. Here we go. Let me see here. There we go. I assume that's showing. So let's see here. So last Friday, Georgia Bio Board, and thank you to all of these people and a number of people that are not shown here on a strategic transaction committee that has been meeting regularly over the last couple of months leading to this. On Friday, this particular small board was put into place to approve bylaws and approve organizational leadership and a few other housekeeping items. I say this to stress that this is a starting point, that we needed to get through some transactions we're working through, and also approve a new set of bylaws. I would also like to thank Cindy Edge, who has been acting as our chair up until until the end of the day last Friday, who was with Berner Ingelheim Animal Health. She is still going to be remaining involved in leadership, and we have leadership from BI in our policy and government affairs work. But Steve Damon, the CEO of Micron Bio, is our new chair, who has stepped into Cindy's shoes. And I want to again stress my thanks for this group and the Strategic Transaction Committee, who's been meeting representing the entire state, let me stress on that, as we work through this effort to separate the organization from the center. I want to follow that by saying that we are going to be having a call for board nominations after the summit. We have some open seats, and we are really trying to stress a strong board composition that is industry heavy, as we are an industry association, but also represents our ecosystem partners and key service providers that are critical to the success of our companies. So please be on the lookout for details about board nominations. It will come out after the summit. As you can imagine, we are very busy over the next week and a half as we get to that event. But there will also be, if you're not necessarily interested in a board seat, but may want to provide expertise, we do invite you to still potentially nominate yourself or others for, supporting roles on board committees, which would be chaired by a board member. Those currently include governance and as well as finance and audit and a workforce development focus. We are preparing, as I mentioned, for the 2023 edition of the Georgia Bio Summit. The summit is back to its old name, the Georgia Life Sciences Summit. We wanted Cindy, Steve, myself, and others, we discussed this, and we felt it was really important to stress that this was a life sciences event for our business community. It is going to be a more concentrated scope in the sense that we will only have 4 sessions that you see here, as well as a company showcase. And we really encourage you to attend this. I want to stress that this event will be limited in size. We are trying to keep things more intimate. By intimate, it's still 300 people, but that is about half of what we've traditionally had. This was not just based on discussions with the board and other key members of the community, but also based on feedback after our event last year. About really connecting around business issues and getting support and building and providing more opportunities for networking. So there will be plenty of time to connect with your peers over lunch and through long extended breaks throughout this day. So please come prepared with business cards and questions to connect and get to reconnect with your colleagues. I'm very excited about the event. I will note that the poster session right now, we are looking for a handful of more applicants, so please circulate that. Additionally, I can't announce what this is yet because we want to save it for the summit. There will be a special new program that we've been working on with our Ecosystem Council that will be announced and launched as a statewide effort and opportunity for our municipality partners at the summit. So that'll be exciting new news for our community and a way to continue to elevate our life sciences sector across the state. And I just want to recognize all of our sponsors and state that we do have a couple, about 24, 48 more hours that if you want to come in and get your logo on materials to let me know in the next 48 hours, the latest. So my final note is there have been a number of staff changes. First, I want to acknowledge the one that I know many have noticed, Christina Forbes, who was with us for over 5 years and did outstanding work. has gone to an amazing new role over at Georgia Core, who is a member organization and a key part of our patient advocacy coalition. So we wish her well. We thank her for everything she has done for the organization to set it on the right foot and everything she did to lead us through the COVID and our time with the center. But she is still part of the family and working at Georgia Core to great success, I understand. We will be working to hire a new role in the coming months to help fill an operational gap, but we're still outlining that. The most immediate hiring need that I will put out to the community, and you'll see a job description be circulated in the coming days, is a Director of Policy and Public Affairs. Ashley Haltom a few weeks ago informed me that an amazing opportunity fell into her lap, and I am thrilled for her in this new role. It will not be part of our industry, but as she has been working very hard with me and the team to transition this her role to a new role. It is being renamed as Director of Policy and Public Affairs. This person's going to be working to lead partnerships and external relations, as well as working closely with our lobbying firm that we utilize during session and sometimes throughout the year. This is a critical piece of the team, and it is the most urgent need as Georgia session is quickly approaching in a couple of months. This person would be working very closely with our policy and advocacy committee. We have recently had some transitions there as well in terms of leadership. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Marcus Downs with Takeda, who has been serving in the leadership role, but has informed me that he needs to step down. And thank Carla Kiriaka, who was our immediate past chair prior to Marcus, for stepping in and acting as interim chair until next summer to get us through this session as we work to get a new as we work to get into our regular cycle of leadership for government affairs. Our chair-elect is Janae Burke, who is with UCB. So I want to stress that we are lining things up and prioritizing things around this upcoming legislative session. There are a number of priorities that we do have on the docket going into session on behalf of industry. And we invite you, if you have not been part of our policy and advocacy committee to, but want to understand it a bit more, to reach out to me and or even connect with me at the conference. But again, if you know anyone after you see the job description that might be interested in this role, please let me know. We'd love to get to know them. A couple last points. We have secured our SAMS and DUNS number. For those that are unaware, that is necessary to take on government grants, among other things. And we prioritize doing this due to a particular opportunity, which we have since applied for, coming out of our workforce office, that continues to build on some work we've been leading over the last few years. So, but I also want to bring this up to the community to show that, to stress our prioritization, not only on policy and government affairs on the industry, but the workforce needs. 10, 12 years ago, workforce was not thought of and prioritized in the same way as it is now. It is a critical need for our industry, especially as we continue to grow the industry, the pace that it's growing, not only for companies here, but companies that have recently announced their growth here. We want to be able to work with those companies to support their efforts to build their workforce. A great example is worked with Manus Bio out in Augusta to support a grant they're reaching out to, they've applied for as a community partner. So having this SAMS number, et cetera, ready to go, we can find ways to collaborate on behalf of the industry, even act as a central home for collaborative grants. And additionally, this does provide a new revenue stream for the organization that has historically not been there. I'd like to stress again the focus around workforce as equal and is just as much of a focus area as the policy and advocacy work that we continue to do. We are also thinking about some ways to provide business support, and those that from industry that are very interested in board leadership, please know that will be a priority in the next couple of months as to how we may provide more mentoring and entrepreneurial support. And we have a number of programs and consultants that we've been discussing this with. So if you're interested in that in particular and growing that as part of our offerings as an organization, please think about a leadership role. And then finally, I just ask that you save the date for a career fair. It will be a virtual career fair because we want this to be accessible for the community across the state. It is being done in partnership with AppFolds, who manages our career center. As a reminder, you can post there for free if you're that's free for anyone to post. So if you have a job, please put it there. We encourage you that if you plan to have summer internships, fellowships next summer, to let us know if you're interested in the career fair, and we'll be able to reach out to you when the company registration opens very soon, and we'll be in touch with those that want to attend in the new year. So just save that date, and companies, please let me know if you're interested in participating in the career fair. Let's see here. Okay, I think that we're moving now into questions. But as I go through these questions, I want to also, I did forget one staff person. I apologize. Kristen Boscan left us a couple of weeks ago, also for a member organization. She has gone over to Avantor and VWR, for those that don't know. I cannot thank Kristen enough for her 5 years of leadership in terms of our workforce development, of course, in partnership with Megan, and what has been and what we have done to support the growing workforce here in the state of Georgia and frankly beyond, and the partnership she's built across the state, from workforce leaders at the elementary and middle and high school level to the technical system and beyond. I'm thrilled that Megan has been appointed to take over Kristen's role in terms of running our rural teacher training program. We are now in year 5. Kristen, we've had 2 sessions now with our current cohort. 3 sessions now with our current cohort. It's going very well, a lot of enthusiasm. And I just want to stress the impact that this has had. We have introduced life science careers to over 50,000 students across the state in 4 years. That's just our 4-year count. So this is a huge impact, and I cannot stress how grateful we are to the industry for their support of this through supporting our equipment depot. We're volunteering their time to speak to kids and teachers. It is a critical piece of what we do. It also enables our ability to talk with policymakers from across the state, because we don't just work in Atlanta or in Athens with this. We work across the entire breadth of the state of Georgia, and it really allows us to have a stronger voice on behalf of the sector. Not to mention, we of course are building that pipeline for our industry here and providing amazing high-paying jobs to the communities across the state. So we have ambitions to continue to grow our work and expand it as we look at grant opportunities and from the public sector as well as the private philanthropic world. So thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Megan, for stepping in. Thank you to Christina, and thank you to Ryan, who took a new marketing position this summer and is doing well over there, I understand too. And please know we are hiring some new staff as we look to the future in the next couple of months. Finally, at the end of this, if we have time, I'm going to invite Jason Rupp, who has been working with us the last few months on business development, to comment on our purchasing program. But I appreciate Jason stepping in when we really needed some extra hands and bringing his deep industry knowledge to bear for us. So let's see. Do I have any questions? Well, apparently I've answered everything. Okay, let's see here. Maybe I can tackle a couple of things when it comes to CGHI. So the CGHI, I can't really speak on behalf of the center. I haven't worked for them since this summer. I'm not employed by them. I'm employed by Georgia Bio. I would refer you to Dr. Stephanie Adams, who has been working with them, and of course the center board. But I really want to stress the positive impact the center and this team had on tackling health inequities across the country and states across the country, and really the network of public and private partners that the organization built has really become a valuable asset for our community, and something that we as an industry will also rely on moving forward. So the center's done amazing work. It's moving in a different direction that doesn't align with what the industry needs, and I wish them all the best. And I really commend the staff that we had, whether they were interns or contractors, our full-time staff, and many others that worked with us from across the university systems in Georgia and the Northeast to execute a number of grants on the impact they had, and really life-saving work they did, especially during COVID. So if you have any questions about the center, please reach out to Stephanie. Let's see, anything else? Let's see here. There are a number of big initiatives happening right now. As an industry, it's amazing to see Science Square come along so quickly. It's an important, critical asset to the industry to have a landing place and infrastructure like that. I fully acknowledge we still do not have that stopgap between universities and builds like what Science Square is for our startup world. But I will continue to pursue partnerships and relationships that will allow us to work towards building a hub for our community in the life sciences space in particular. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm having some direct messages on questions. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so I do want to, some of the advocacy work that's happened in the last 2 or 3 years that we have really picked up on. I'll just give a few examples. There is a rare disease advisory council now in place in the state of Georgia. We worked very hard to do that. Thank you to Ashley and a variety of different policy and advocacy committee members for leadership on that. I do sit on that committee for the industry, and that committee does advise the governor on rare disease work. We also put in place the Georgia Medical Made Manufacturing Act, the first industry focused incentive in the state of Georgia. We're very proud of that, and we continue to make sure to ensure that that continues moving forward. So if you're hiring in the manufacturing space, please make sure you take advantage of that tax credit so we can continue to advocate for its remaining in the state of Georgia. We've also done some work around apprenticeships and state funding for apprenticeships. That ran out really quickly last year. So if you're interested in apprenticeships, please let us know early in the new year. And then our continued support for the Rural Teacher Training Program that we execute across the state of Georgia, with huge kudos to a number of our big industry partners like Takeda and UCB and others that have made sure that we have the matching private sector needs to private sector give for that. And we look forward to seeing if we might be able to increase that funding from the state. Let's see if there's a couple other things. So I don't have any other questions. Anybody have anything for me? Please drop it in the chat.
No, there are a few questions in the Q&A.
Okay, maybe I'm missing this. Okay, sorry.
You want me to?
Running it and talking is a little challenging.
I can ask them if you want.
Okay, what is the relationship? There isn't a, okay, so for the first question, what is the relationship between the recently formed New Georgia Bio and the Georgia Bio that's being spun out of CGI? They're one and the same. We have the brand is an asset we are taking from the center, but it is a new entity. And it is really, frankly, the only thing that members should see in terms of a transition, because the Georgia Bio website was never removed. It was always kept separate in terms of messaging from the center, is really who you write your check to. I have been working with a number of our partners that have been critically supportive of this transition, some of our bigger policy companies to update with their accounting teams and their systems. So if I need to become a new vendor with you, if the Georgia organization does, please let me know, and I'll work through that paperwork. Marta, I'll get to your question in a second. Is there a role for clinical biomed innovator research from the outside to you or of the U.S. to participate? We are a statewide organization in Georgia. Now, that said, we are an international city, and I fully recognize that. And we have a number of companies that we're working to get into the state right now that are not domestic. I think there's always a role, particularly as we look at some entrepreneurship and mentoring opportunities to provide to the community, where we want to make sure that we're leaning into hubs and expertise that will be helpful to grow our sector here in Georgia. So I would say yes, there will be opportunities, but we're still defining some of that and how that will look. Yeah, I mean, if there's something specific, Assad, I'm always happy to connect with you offline. Tom, well, thank you for the question. I would stress that I don't consider the center a failure by any means. Otherwise, that budget wouldn't have grown to what it was, and the impact across the country wouldn't have happened. But I would say from a let's say I would say from a personal opinion, I think that in some respects, very big things need big public and private backing that manifests and doesn't disappear. Unfortunately, the main challenge that the center ran into was the innovation district. And quite frankly, that was not due to a lack of trying and a lot of hard work and many, many months of working with local leadership, political leadership to get that to grow. Frankly, that was really the main failure in the sense was fundraising from a philanthropic standpoint for that particular project. And that was the main failure. From a programmatic standpoint, the center was highly successful and actually did tackle some of the organizational challenges Georgia Bio was dealing with going into that merger a few years ago. We continue to need accessible and affordable shared lab space in the state of Georgia. It is a huge challenge for this industry to continue to grow at the pace that we see it, especially for our startup and early stage companies. We're doing great in terms of manufacturing and economic development work, but those small landing zones for our companies spinning out of universities and small companies that want to come to the South, it's a challenge. And until we build more capacity, even a small portion of what we see in, say, the RTP area, it's going to continue to be a challenge. I will say that big ideas like what the center envisioned out of the gate, particularly around the innovation district, was with a variety of public and private partners that do not work with the innovation technical space that we work in, requires a lot of work and frankly, we needed to have the ability to accept some risk, and the board knew that, and I knew that. I would say there is something to be said for nothing ventured, nothing gained, and these endeavors have intricate operational requirements, especially with public entities and public funding that does not always manifest due to economic and political shifts. So I think there's been a lot of lessons learned for me personally. It's part of the reason we as an organization are doing a lot of work with our local economic development authorities and local leadership across the state. Those are relationships 3 years ago I did not have. And now I'm very proud to say that myself, our workforce office, and our government affairs office have gotten very close to local political leadership that will help with industry growth and workforce development priorities on behalf of the life sciences sector. It is not something historically Georgia Bio has spent time on, but it is critical if we're going to move forward with growing the sector and some political priorities that the industry has. The most valuable lesson I would end with is for Georgia Biosciences is that we gained exposure to federal grant opportunities and compliance requirements. It is extremely cumbersome, and past team members can certainly attest to that. Thank you, Christina, to manage and meet the necessary compliance requirements. This really opens up a massive growing revenue stream for the organization. And also, of course, at the same time, fills a critical need for the industry in our region, and really is a new value for members that we can continue to pursue on behalf of workforce development and economic development. So I think that is a big piece of what we learned, Tom and others, is how to manage those types of grants. And it will really allow for the organization not to get into a challenging financial place that it was in prior to the merger. That's a really important thing, and there's a lot of opportunity out there for life sciences, and I don't see why Georgia Biosciences can't go out there and grasp it. Okay, thank you, Chris. I'm reading your notes. General, okay, I've learned that standing up wet lab space for general access needs constant infusion of external funding besides tenants. Yes, thank you for that comment, Chris. And I completely agree. Staying at these facilities are very financially cumbersome, and of course, maintaining them are as well. I can promise you that there is a a very small team of independent people working with partners we developed over the last few years on analyzing potential business structure. It would not be something that Georgia Bio would independently go about doing. Simply, we would be a thought leader around this effort and an advocate for getting a space like this built. And again, Chris, I'm happy to talk to you offline on some of those things. But yes, totally recognize a biobusiness incubator is challenging. So. So Marta, what is my new vision for Georgia Bio? So I need to stress the old village vision still stands. We are still here to connect, advocate, and inspire our community. That is standard across the board for bio affiliates, even those that embrace medtech like we do. And that is a critical piece of what we do. When we survey members and the community, the number one value of membership is always the connect aspect. How do we build community? How do we connect community? My Rolodex is still my most powerful thing in my book, and I'm grateful to have Megan and Jason and others to help me continue to build that and provide the connections needed. So we will still advocate, connect, and grow. My new vision, and I would say our new vision, needs to come from you all. I do hope to work with with the new board and new board members that will be joining in the coming month or so to really see how we want to tackle a next strategic effort for the organization and the industry. We really do need to build a landscape for, a roadmap for what life sciences looks like in Georgia, so we can better articulate those needs and the requirements to our those that have influence and power in our state, whether that's industry, policymakers, economic development leaders, community leaders, et cetera. We really need to be able to articulate in a simple and let's say easy to consume manner that all can understand. One of the complications that I've seen, and I think those of us that work in the policy world often see, is we have a very complicated industry and it's very hard to articulate the value, and you need to understand who you're talking with and communicating with to make sure that our needs align with what their priorities might need. So I think understanding and building that roadmap for what life sciences in Georgia could look like in, say, 20 years is a critical piece of this. But at the same time, in parallel, we need to understand where the organization is going programmatically and operationally. And this is not just me. I would say that most of my counterparts across the country have also been dealing with this in the last year and a half, 2 years since COVID and reopenings began. We do not convene the same way we used to, despite me wishing we could get together for a happy hour every other month. The reality is people don't want to come in person as frequently. So key events like our summit, our awards center, and a few other pieces or a few other events we're considering will be key events that the community will come together around. We will still do events and collective gatherings, maybe happy hours, whatever it might be, in our chapters in Athens and Augusta and a few other places. I hope to eventually get to Albany one day, and really find ways to bring the community together in those particular regions that don't convene and see each other as much as they do in the dense Atlanta market. But I really truly think that we need to think about how we can better support our early stage companies and connect people in a more efficient way than just calling or emailing me. And that's why this mentoring and entrepreneurship program is something we're seriously entertaining. And I'm very grateful to Nikia Malesio at ATDC, who's been working with us over the last year to start to craft what that could look like. So I think one big piece of it would be launching a consistent program and have some cohorts that support early stage companies. But in general, the vision needs to be to continue to grow up, but we need to set some milestones strategically for the state in order to understand how we as an organization can meet those milestones and support that growth. So that longer term plan for life sciences in Georgia is a critical piece to this. All right. Well, we have about 5 minutes. I don't see any other questions, and I want to give Jason a minute just to comment on business solutions. We are looking to you. Maintaining your relationship, your membership is critical to us being able to keep our doors open. I'm being very plain about that. We are about to enter our new winter membership drive that kicks off after Summit, and if you're up for renewal, please renew. Thank you for your support. But one thing we want to make sure that we do not fall behind in is our purchasing program. And that's what Jason's been really helping me on. This is this is a critical piece to our success. And actually, considering the size of us as an association, we do not have our members take as much advantage of this as they could. Just Eric, really quick, your question, what is the current connection with the governor? You may have touched on this, their business ops with them. We have access to the governor as we would in his office and his staff as we would need to. That's Ashley had led that, and this new person would work with Sally Kilpatrick at Cornerstone, our government affairs office, to access the governor when needed. There are also, the governor is obviously a critical piece of this, but there are also a number of other influencers that we have long-term relationships with at the state legislature. So we've always had a very positive relationship with Governor Kemp. Thank you for the suggestion, Betty Lou. Brainstorming roundtable, I think, would be very helpful. And I hope to tackle that after Summit, and maybe the day after that, because I'd like a little rest after Summit too. Jason?
Thanks, Maria. I'm just going to share a couple slides here. I had the first one up. Basically, one of the biggest membership benefits of Georgia Bio or any of the state affiliates is the Business Solutions program that we work with the National Bio on. And these are just a few of the programs that we have available. Lab, I'll let you read them. I'm not going to read them all, but lab and facilities, HR insurance, and just everyday business services. If I skip down here a slide, here are some examples of savings that companies in Georgia have gotten. And you'll see that it's all different sizes. There's real big ones, there's medium size, there's small ones. So you can, no matter what size you are, or really what you do, you're going to be able to save money through the business services program. And this is just Avantor, I don't know how to say it, savings data for Georgia Bio members as an example. And the biggest savings is 1.4 million, and the smallest is just $1,000. So you'll see that there are opportunities here for really everyone. If you want to, there's a address here, and I can send this out, Maria, if you want to, this whole presentation for folks to look through. But get in touch with me or Maria, or you can email save@bio.org, and they'll be able to help you out. So that's really all I wanted to say.
No, thank you. And I would stress Avantor is our largest one, but Chubb has been very successful for a number of our companies, especially early stage companies that are getting started. ODP is Office Depot. I think that message has had a hard time coming through. So please take advantage of that. And even if you use FedEx, you can use UPS. So please take advantage of that. Obviously, with UPS being a local corporation, we really hope Georgia companies will take advantage of this program. So please utilize the program. It is there for your use. If you have any ideas of providers for that we should consider for purchasing solutions, let us know. Bio often takes suggestions, but we also have the ability to do local negotiations if we want to enter into those, if it makes sense for our community. So don't hesitate to make suggestions for that and for us to offer as a member benefit to our community. We are happy to entertain that input. So I don't think I see any other questions if I'm reading the Q&A right, but I really look forward to seeing many of you at Summit in a couple of weeks. We look to be a sold out crowd. We will be up in Sandy Springs. Despite us not being on a football field at Mercedes-Benz, I'm still encouraging comfortable shoes because I will be wearing comfortable shoes. That is totally fine. Come excited to, use your social media to make some noise about Georgia Bio and our life sciences community. I really hope that you use your own voices to elevate our industry on your LinkedIn in particular, and use other social platforms, feel free. One thing we will not be doing is having a TikTok. I will stress that. I'm not adding to our social media challenges just yet, but I did get a couple of questions about that via email from some younger colleagues, but I do not have the bandwidth for that. So we're very excited about this new stage for Georgia Bio. Hold on. Thank you. Thank you. I cannot stress, I might be the one behind the scenes doing all the work, but this is not done in a vacuum. This team, our recent team members that have left us, And I wish them all the best, are critical to part of this transition. This has been happening over the last few months. Thank you again to Cindy Edge at Berner Ingelheim and Steve Damon for stepping up and their leadership, and the rest of our board members. And again, please, if you're interested, I will send, yes, the Georgia Bio social media page links, sorry, I'm getting a question, are available at the top right of our website. But I will go ahead and grab the LinkedIn at the very least and drop it in there. We do post very frequently on social media. So please at least follow us on LinkedIn. That is probably the easiest way to get most updates with the most depth. Let's see here. Yeah. So thank you again to all of our leadership, my current team, my past team. None of this is done in a vacuum. We are here to be here for you in the growth of the sector. Please, if you have additional questions, I will answer them directly as candidly as I am able to. You know, don't forget to share your news and post with us so we can put it on our social platforms. I want to be able to talk about you guys. You all create the news and the excitement, and the more I can make noise about it, the more that we can rationalize the growth and the investment into life sciences growth here in Georgia. With that, any other, okay, thanks everybody. I will see if I'm gonna just stay on and drop the social media link in here for LinkedIn right now, and answer live. Okay, I didn't do that right, so I'll put it in the chat. There we go. All right, well, thanks everybody. I'm going to call this session done for today, and I'll see most of y'all in a week and a half on November 1st in Sandy Springs for the Georgia Life Sciences Summit.